The morning sun settled over the dusty ranch valley like warm honey, spreading across the open fields, the worn fences, and the old wooden barn that had seen more storms than most folks in town. It was the kind of day when the wind carried both secrets and promises. And for many in the old American frontier, quiet mornings often meant trouble was waiting just around the bend. That was exactly what the young woman felt when she stepped off the wagon and faced the ranch gates for the first time. Nothing but a simple job was what she came for, but life out here had its own plans. And it never warned anyone before changing everything. She clutched her small canvas bag. Try not to stare at the tall ranch owner standing by the porch. The man had broad shoulders, sun-touched skin, and the steady look of someone who had spent more years with cattle than people. His name was Iron Walker, known across the valley as the rancher who rebuilt everything from ashes after losing nearly all he loved. Folks whispered about him in every saloon and trading post, calling him stern but fair, distant but honorable. Some said he carried a storm inside him. Others said he carried scars he never let anyone see. She didn't know any of that. All she knew was that she needed work. She needed safety. And she needed a place where no one would look at her the way her past did. Iron stepped forward. Expression calm, voice low. "You must be here for the housekeeping job." She nodded. "Yes, sir." "If you still need someone?" He studied her for a moment, and she felt her heart tremble. Not because he was imposing, but because, in his eyes, there was something strangely gentle, something she didn't expect from a ranch legend. But before she could make sense of it, his attention shifted to something behind her. A wagon had rolled in earlier, carrying supplies for the ranch, and near the porch stood a massive wooden crate. Older than both of them, and heavy enough that two men struggled to move it, Iron sighed. "I was trying to get this inside before the heat rises. It's too big for me to lift alone." She looked at the crate. "Do you need me to fetch someone from the barn?" Iron shook his head, rolling up his sleeves. "No, just need your help steadying it." He glanced at her, then nodded toward the crate. "It's too big. Just sit on top of it." Her breath caught as she blinked at him. For a heartbeat, the whole world paused. The words hung in the air like a misplaced spark. He seemed confused by her expression until he realized how it sounded. A slow, warm grin tugged at the corner of his mouth, a rare sight, she suspected. It softened the sharp lines of his face and made the hardened ranch owner look unexpectedly human. "I meant the crate," he said. "If you sit on it, it won't tilt while I lift the other side?" She felt her cheeks warm as she gave a small nod. The misunderstanding was simple, innocent, but the moment shifted something in the air. They both felt it, though neither dared speak of it. She climbed onto the crate, brushing the dust off her skirt as Iron positioned himself at the other end. The ranch yard was quiet, except for the distant call of cattle and the soft whistle of wind weaving through the corral posts. Iron lifted the crate with a low grunt, muscles tightening as he dragged it inch by inch toward the porch. She held her balance, gripping the edge as the ancient wood creaked beneath her. For a moment, she felt strangely safe there, oddly connected to this place she barely knew. "You're lighter than I expected," Iron muttered. Half teasing, half focused. "Is that supposed to be a compliment?" she asked, surprising even herself. He gave another faint smile. "Supposed to be the truth." It was a small exchange, but out here, where people measured their words as carefully as their bullets, small exchanges mattered. They planted something. A seed, a spark, a question neither of them wanted to answer yet. The crate finally reached the porch. Iron straightened, wiping his forehead with the back of his hand. She slid down, landing gently on the wooden planks. For a second, their eyes met without the filter of nervousness or misunderstanding. There was a quiet tension in the space between them, something that felt like a warning and an invitation at the same time, before either could look away. A distant shout cut through the moment. Iron snapped his head toward the open fields. A rider was approaching fast, dust rising behind the galloping horse. That alone wasn't unusual in frontier towns. But the urgency in the rider's posture sent a cold breath through the warm morning. Iron's expression hardened into the guarded mask the town knew well. "Stay here," he said, his voice lower now. Carrying a protective edge she hadn't expected, the rider pulled up sharply in front of the porch. Almost stumbling off the horse, Iron the man gasped, "You need to come quick. Something's happened at the north line." Iron narrowed his eyes. "What kind of something?" The rider hesitated, glancing at the young woman as if unsure whether he should speak in front of her. Iron stepped closer. "Out with it." The rider swallowed. "We found tracks. Fresh ones. And they weren't made by cattle or ranch hands. Someone crossed into your land during the night, and the trail leads straight to the canyon." A heavy silence settled, thicker than dust and twice as cold. The canyon folks didn't say that word lightly. It was a place carved by storms and shadows, a place where rustlers hid and secrets vanished. A place known for one thing: trouble. Iron's jaw tensed. He turned to her, the softness gone from his eyes, replaced with something fierce and determined. "You're new here," he said quietly. "You don't know what that means yet, but you will. This land isn't peaceful. Not always." She felt her pulse quicken, fear brushing against curiosity. Is someone in danger? Iron didn't answer right away. He looked toward the open fields again, as if the wind carried a warning only he could hear. Then, in a voice steady as the ground beneath them, he said, "Everyone is. When the tracks lead to the canyon..." The rider shifted uneasily. "What do you want us to do?" Iron took a slow breath, one that seemed to anchor his heart before he spoke. "Get the men. No one rides alone today." Then he met her gaze again, something unspoken passing between them. Something that said she had stepped into more than a job, more than a quiet ranch life. Something that said her arrival might not have been chance at all. He motioned toward the house. "Stay inside. Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone until I come back." She nodded slowly, but her mind raced. The heavy crate, the misunderstanding, the warm smile that flickered across his face. It all felt like a small beginning compared to whatever storm was gathering. Now as Iron saddled his horse and rode out with the others, the wind shifted again, carrying a strange mix of dust and destiny across the ranch. She stood in the doorway, watching the riders disappear toward the canyon, feeling deep in her bones that this moment, this morning, and this man were about to change her life in ways she could not yet imagine. And as the last silhouette of the riders vanished beyond the ridge, something else caught her eye near the barn. Footprints small, fresh, and headed straight toward the house. The footprints near the barn pulled her forward. Before her mind fully caught up with what she was doing, they were small enough to belong to a child, but the strange part was how lightly they pressed into the dust, as if whoever made them moved with unusual care. She knelt down, letting her fingers brush the trail. The morning air was warm, yet the feeling that washed through her was cold, a quiet warning that something wasn't right. Iron had just warned her to stay inside, but standing still felt impossible when the ranch around her held more questions than answers. She followed the prints only a few steps, before they curved behind the water trough and vanished near the side of the barn. It was almost as if the person who made them knew exactly where to step, so their tracks would fade. She stood there, eyes scanning the area, heart thudding with a nervous rhythm. She wanted to call out, but something whispered not to. Out on the frontier? Silence was often safer than curiosity. When she finally pulled herself away and returned inside the house, she closed the door with gentle hands, trying not to let the hinges creak. The quiet inside felt heavier than the open sky outside. Dust motes floated in the sunbeams crossing the wooden floor, drifting slowly like tiny secrets trying to find a place to settle. She set her canvas bag down near the staircase and took a slow breath. The house was simple but strong, with wide plank floors, hand-carved beams, and the faint scent of pine and leather mixed together. It felt lived in, but lonely in a way that made her chest ache. Iron Walker had built this place after losing everything in the wildfire years ago. People in town whispered about that night when flames swallowed half his herd and nearly took his life too. Some said he rebuilt the ranch from stubbornness. Others said he rebuilt it from heartbreak. No one knew the truth, because Iron spoke of it only once. And never again. She wondered how a man could carry so much loss and still walk with such steady strength. She wondered what it meant to live with that much weight and never show it to anyone. She wondered what the canyon tracks had woken up inside him. The clock on the wall ticked slowly, marking time she couldn't measure properly. Every sound outside made her pause, listening for approaching hooves or shouting riders. But all she heard was the breath of the wind pushing against the windows. To distract herself, she began exploring the house. The main room was lined with shelves filled with old books, worn tools, and framed sketches of horses and landscapes. Some were faded, their colors washed out from sun and time. One drawing in particular caught her attention. It showed a young boy, maybe 8 or 9, riding a spirited horse while Iron stood behind him. Holding the reins with a protective grip, she felt something twist inside her chest. Iron Walker had a family once. Maybe he still did in some hidden way the town never spoke about. Whatever the truth was, that picture explained something about the man she had met this morning. The quiet strength, the stillness in his eyes, the shadows he carried. As she traced the frame with her fingertips, something clattered upstairs. Her heart froze. She turned slowly, listening. There was nothing for a moment. Then another soft sound, like a piece of furniture shifting or a small object falling. The footprints, the house, someone was inside. She instinctively reached for the poker near the fireplace, gripping it tightly though her hands trembled. She took slow, careful steps toward the staircase, her breath thin and controlled. Every sound felt magnified, from the creak of the wooden steps to her own heartbeat pressing against her ribs. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched out with doors on either side. The third door was slightly open, even though she was certain Iron had left them all closed. The air felt colder there, as if something unseen lingered just beyond her reach. She pushed the door open. The room was small and neatly arranged. Likely a guest room, or perhaps a child's room long ago. A rocking chair sat near the window, and the breeze nudged it gently, making it sway with a soft squeak. On the floor near the bed was a wooden toy. A small, carved horse, lying on its side, like it had been dropped in haste. She stepped closer and picked it up. The craftsmanship was delicate, the edges smooth and carefully shaped. Someone had spent time making it, someone who cared. She held it in her palm, thinking of the footprints, the drawing, the canyon, and how all these pieces connected in ways she didn't yet understand. Then, behind her, the floorboard creaked. She spun around, clutching the toy and the poker. The hallway was empty. The air was still. She felt watched, not by danger, but by something fragile and scared. The door at the very end of the hall was closed. Something inside her urged her forward. She walked carefully, each step measured. As she reached the door, she heard it faintly, a breath, a small, shaky breath. The kind a frightened child makes when trying hard not to cry. She froze. There was a child in the house. A child who didn't belong here? Or maybe one who did? She lowered the poker, pressing her palm flat against the door. "It's all right," she whispered. "You don't have to hide from me. Promise I won't hurt you." Silence followed, long enough for doubt to creep into her chest. Then, slowly, a tiny shadow shifted beneath the crack of the door. Small bare toes, bare feet. She stepped back to give space. The doorknob turned ever so slightly, but before it opened, a thundering sound erupted from outside. Hooves pounded the ground so hard the walls vibrated. She rushed to the window and looked out. Riders were returning fast, but it wasn't Iron's group. These riders moved differently, aggressive, reckless. Dust rose behind them like a warning cloud. Her heart tightened as she recognized. A brand burned into one rider's jacket. The broken star emblem. She had heard about that symbol. Rustlers. Land thieves. A group known for causing trouble across the valley, slipping into ranches, stealing cattle, leaving fear behind them like tracks in mud. What were they doing here? Why? Were they riding toward Iron's ranch? She backed away from the window, gripping the toy horse in one hand. The sound of the riders grew louder, closer, thick with urgency. She didn't know if they were coming to cause harm or demand something, but she knew enough to understand one thing clearly. Danger was no longer at the canyon. It was at the ranch, right in front of her. She turned back toward the hallway, but the door of the last room was now open just a crack. Not wide enough to see the child, but wide enough for one fragile brown eye to peek out. Fear lived in that eye, but something else too. Recognition. The child knew Iron, and the child was hiding from the riders outside. She held up the toy horse with a gentle hand. "I think this belongs to you." The door opened an inch more, but before either of them could move, the pounding of boots echoed on the porch, followed by harsh voices yelling orders. The wrong kind of voices, kind that didn't care about rules or boundaries. She heard one of them shout for the door to be opened. The child flinched. Her pulse hammered. Iron was still miles away at the canyon, and she was alone in the house. With a frightened child, a gang of rustlers outside, and no way to know what they wanted or how far they were willing to go. The door rattled again as someone kicked it hard. She grabbed the child's hand, pulling them close, and as the third kick struck the wood with a violent crack, she realized one truth with absolute certainty. Nothing that happened this morning had been a coincidence. Everything was connected. The crate, the footprints, the canyon tracks, the child hiding upstairs, and the rustlers forcing their way to the door. Something far bigger, far darker, and far more dangerous was unfolding around her, and she didn't know. Yet that Iron Walker had seen the same broken star emblem carved into the dirt at the canyon. The door shook again under a heavy boot, the wood groaning like it was ready to split. She pulled the child closer, feeling their small fingers tighten around her hand. The rustlers outside were shouting, ordering whoever was inside to open up, their voices sharp with impatience. She glanced around the room, searching for any place to hide. Any corner that could shield a frightened child from men who carried trouble the way others carried dust on their boots. The closet was too small, the window too visible, and the bed frame too low to offer comfort. The only chance was the narrow space between the dresser and the wall. She knelt and guided the child into it, whispering, "Stay quiet, don't move." The child nodded, eyes wide and scared, their breath catching in a soft tremble. The door downstairs crashed open. She backed toward the bedroom entrance, heart pounding so loudly it felt like footsteps inside her chest. Heavy boots thudded against the floorboards downstairs. Voices barked orders. Something was knocked to the ground. She prayed the child would not make a sound. She pressed herself behind the door, hoping the angle would give her a moment to react if the men came up. More boots approached. She heard them pacing the main room, opening drawers, kicking chairs, searching with rough movements that had no patience in them. She held her breath as one of them laughed, a low, coarse chuckle that climbed the stairs like smoke. "Check up there," another voice ordered. A shadow moved across the wall. Someone was coming up. She gripped the doorknob slowly and eased the bedroom door closed just halfway, praying the hinges wouldn't betray her. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. A man paused there, his silhouette blocking the light from the window at the end of the hall. He sniffed the air like a hound trailing a threat. "There's someone here," he called down. Her lungs squeezed tight. Before he stepped closer, another voice rose from the yard. "Leave it. They're not who we came for." Something shifted in the hall. The man paused. A boss, the leader. Someone with enough control to stop even the roughest of his men with one command. The man at the top of the stairs growled quietly but obeyed, turning away and descending back to the lower floor. The woman stayed still until her legs ached. The child didn't dare move either. Downstairs, she heard the leader speaking calmly. But the calmness was the kind that carried danger in its roots. "She'll come back," he said. People always return to what they're hiding. She didn't know who he meant. Not yet, but the tone suggested he wasn't looking for Iron Walker. He was looking for someone much more vulnerable, someone who left small footprints. They lingered a little longer, rummaging through the house in ways that made her feel stripped of safety. She heard glass shatter, a drawer slam, leather boots scrap against the floor. Then, as quickly as they came, they filed out, their horses snorting and stomping outside. The leader's horse gave a long, low exhale before he spoke again. "Watch the ridge. Someone will show themselves. Then the group rode off, leaving the yard quiet again. Though the silence felt bruised and tainted, she stayed still for several moments more. When she finally dared to move, her legs shook beneath her. She closed the bedroom door fully and crouched beside the dresser. "It's all right now," she whispered. The child crawled out slowly, eyes glistening, cheeks streaked with a fear no child should carry. They clutched the carved wooden horse in trembling fingers. "Are they gone?" the child asked softly. "Yes," she said, brushing dust from the child's hair. "But they'll be back." The child swallowed hard, looking down. She cupped their small face gently. "What's your name?" The child hesitated, as if speaking it might bring danger closer. "River," they whispered. It was a strong name, soft but powerful, like the kind that could carve stone with time but still run quietly through the land. She hugged the child lightly, feeling a protective warmth settle in her chest. "River, why were you hiding in this house?" River opened their mouth to speak, but footsteps sounded outside again. Not hurried, not hostile, familiar and steady. The rhythm of hooves she recognized instantly. Iron Walker was back. She rushed downstairs with River's hand in hers. Iron swung off his horse before it fully stopped moving, his eyes scanning the yard with the sharpness of a hawk. He saw her on the porch and strode forward. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head quickly. "No, but you need to know something." Iron didn't wait. He stepped inside, saw the broken glass, the overturned chair, the scuff marks on the floor. His jaw tightened, his hands curled into fists. "Rustlers," he muttered. "The same ones that left tracks at the canyon." Riva peeked from behind her skirt. Iron froze. His breath left him slowly. His posture shifted. Something deep in his eyes cracked open, as if seeing River awaken to truth he had buried. "River," he said softly, "what are you doing here?" The woman looked between them. The recognition in Iron's voice was unmistakable. River wasn't a stranger. Not to him. River stepped out from behind her, gripping the toy horse. "I didn't know where else to go," the child said. "They were looking for me." Iron lowered himself to one knee, all the strength in him folding into something tender and fierce. "You shouldn't have run." "Not out here. Not alone." River's lip trembled. "I didn't want them to take me." Iron closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, the weight inside them was almost painful to see. The woman felt the tension growing, the unspoken history thick between them. She could sense the conflict, the fear, the secrets. She wanted to step back and give them space. But Iron reached for her hand. "You should hear this too," he said. His voice carried something that made her pulse tighten. Iron sat on the edge of the table, staring at the floor. "River's mother was my sister," he said quietly. "She died in the wildfire the same night the old ranch burned. River survived, but the rustlers wanted something that belonged to her, something she refused to give, something they're still looking for." The woman felt her heart shift. "What is it?" Iron shook his head. "I don't know. But whatever it was, she hid it before the fire. The rustlers have been hunting River ever since, thinking the child knows where it is." River hugged the carved horse tightly. "I don't know anything. I just ran when they came back to the old cabin." Iron's jaw clenched. "They're after the child, and they're desperate." The woman felt the truth settle heavily. The rustlers weren't searching for cattle or land. They wanted something far more valuable, something worth chasing across the frontier. Iron rose and paced the room, anger simmering beneath the surface. "I followed the canyon tracks. They circled around, heading straight here. They knew River would come to me." River looked up with worried eyes. "Are you angry?" Iron knelt again and placed a hand on the child's shoulder. "I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at them." The woman felt something new stirring inside her. Fear, yes, but also resolve. She couldn't turn away from this now. She was part of it, whether she chose to be or not. Iron looked at her, his voice steady. "I know you came here for work, not trouble. But trouble found this ranch before dawn, and I can't ask you to stay in the middle of it." She held his gaze. "You didn't ask. I chose. Iron's eyes softened, but the fear inside them didn't fade. He turned toward the window, watching the ridge where the rustlers had disappeared. "They'll be back," he whispered. River moved closer to the woman, leaning against her side with trust that came from pure instinct. The woman wrapped her arm around the child and stared out the window too, her heartbeat matching the restless wind. If the rustlers wanted something hidden in River's past, then the ranch was no longer just a home. It was the center of a storm waiting to break, and none of them knew what River's mother had hidden, why she hid it, or why the rustlers believed it was worth spilling blood over. But one thing was certain: the conflict had only just begun. Iron Walker didn't sleep that night. Neither did she. The ranch house felt different once the lamps dimmed and the silence settled. It wasn't peaceful silence. It was the kind that pricked the skin, the kind that made every creak and distant animal call feel like a warning. River slept curled up between two quilts on the small cot Iron brought into the main room. But even in sleep, the child's brow stayed tight with worry. She watched the gentle rise and fall of River's breath and felt a protective pull stronger than anything she expected. Iron stood near the window, staring into the dark fields. His silhouette looked carved from stone, but she could see the weight he carried. He had kept the world away from this ranch for years. Now danger was coming straight at his door because of secrets left behind by someone he loved. "You think they'll return tonight?" she asked quietly. Iron didn't turn. "They might. Rustlers don't waste time when they're chasing something they think is valuable." She stepped closer. "But we don't even know what River's mother hid." Iron nodded slowly. "That's what scares me. It means they know something we don't." The wind rattled the window frame, and she startled slightly. Iron noticed. He softened, just a fraction. "You don't have to stay here through this. I already told you," she replied. "I'm not leaving River, or you." Iron's eyes met hers in the dim light. A quiet understanding passed between them, steady and strong. Before she could say anything more, a distant sound broke the stillness. A faint metallic clang. Then another. Iron stiffened. Gate latch. He blew out the oil lamp and signaled her to stay behind him. Her breathing slowed as Iron moved silently to the door and peeked outside. The moonlight cast pale shadows across the yard. At first, everything looked untouched. But then she saw it. A figure crouched near the far fence line, trying to clip something to the wood. Iron grabbed his rifle from the corner. Not to shoot, but to warn. He pushed the door open just enough to step onto the porch. "I see you," he called, voice echoing through the night. "Stand up." The figure froze. Then slowly, a tall man rose, hands raised. "No need for trouble," he said. "I'm not one of them." Iron kept the rifle pointed steady. "Then state your name." "Stone Calder," the man replied. "I'm from the trading post east of the canyon. I came to warn you." She exchanged a look with Iron. Stone Calder was a name the townsfolk mentioned sometimes. A drifter, but not the dangerous sort. A man who wandered with news and sometimes horses for trade. Iron took a step forward. "Why come at night?" "Because the rustlers patrol during the day now," Stone said. "They're watching your land. They know River is here." River stirred in their sleep at the sound of their name, letting out a soft whimper. Iron lowered the rifle but didn't relax. "How do you know?" Stone approached slowly, stopping several feet from the porch. "Because they're camped in the canyon. And I overheard their leader talking. They're planning to take the child tonight or at dawn. They want whatever that woman hid before she died." Iron's grip tightened. "Do they know what it is?" Stone shook his head. "No, but they think River does." She stepped forward, unable to stop herself. "But River said they don't know anything." Stone's face hardened. "Rustlers won't believe the word of a child. They believe fear can loosen tongues." Iron stepped down from the porch, getting close enough to Stone to meet his eyes. "Why tell us? What do you get from this?" Stone didn't flinch. "Your sister saved my life once. I owe her a debt no man can pay back with coin." Something in Iron's expression cracked for a moment. Grief and gratitude mingled in his eyes. The rustlers won't attack until they think you're asleep, Stone said. But they're nearby. Listening, waiting. Iron nodded slowly. Then I won't give them what they want. He turned to her, voice firm. Pack what you can. Wake River, we're leaving. Her heart skipped. Where will we go? Iron looked toward the dark ridge, to the one place they won't follow. The old mine above the canyon? Stone frowned. That place collapsed years ago. Iron shook his head. Not the main shaft. There's a back path only my family knew about. If River's mother hid something, she would have hidden it there. The woman felt a chill run through her. You think whatever she hid is at the mine? I think that's where we'll find answers. River woke up as she gently shook their shoulder. The child rubbed their eyes, looking confused and frightened. We're going somewhere? She knelt beside them. Yes, somewhere safe. River clutched her shirt tightly. They'll find us. Not if we move now, she whispered, brushing their hair back. And not if we stay together. Iron and Stone prepared the horses, fastening saddlebags quickly and quietly. The moonlight made every shadow look longer, sharper. River stood beside her, gripping the carved horse like it was a key instead of a toy. Iron lifted River onto one horse, then turned to her. Ride with me. Stone will keep watch behind us. She nodded and climbed up behind Iron, holding onto him as he guided the horse through the narrow trail behind the barn. The night air was cold, but Iron's steady presence grounded her. They rode in silence. The sound of hooves muffled by dry grass and soft earth. The land stretched wide and dark around them. It felt like stepping into the unknown, guided only by instinct and trust. Halfway toward the ridge, Stone hissed sharply. Iron pulled the horse to a stop. She felt her heart drop as Stone pointed behind them. On a distant hill, several silhouettes appeared against the moon. Riders following. Iron's jaw tensed. They're tracking us faster than I thought. River trembled in the saddle. Iron leaned back slightly to reassure her. Hold tight. I won't let anything happen to you. He pressed his heels into the horse, pushing forward at a faster pace. The trail narrowed, hugging the ridge with a steep drop on one side and jagged rocks on the other. The rustlers gained ground, their torches flickering like angry signals in the dark. Stone rode behind them, shouting warnings. They're splitting up. 2 on the pass. 3 down the slope. Iron cursed under his breath. They want to trap us. She tightened her grip, her heart racing. River buried their face against Iron's back. We'll reach the mine before they do, Iron urged. We have to. The trail turned sharply, leading to the base of a massive cliff. There, partly hidden by brush and boulders, was an opening barely large enough for one horse at a time. Iron guided their horse inside first. The darkness swallowed them immediately, the air becoming cool and damp. River held their breath nervously. She clung to Iron as he moved slowly through the narrow passage. Stone followed quickly, leading his horse on foot now. Behind them, the rustlers' shouts echoed through the canyon, louder and closer. Iron whispered, We're almost through. The path widens ahead. The narrow tunnel suddenly opened into a larger cavern lit by faint moonlight slipping through cracks in the stone. Broken beams from the old mine lay scattered across the floor. Iron dismounted, helping her and River down. Stone entered moments later, blocking part of the entrance with loose rocks. They're close, he warned. They'll find this place. Iron scanned the cavern. We don't need them to stay out. We just need to find what River's mother hid before they get in. River clutched the carved horse, staring at it with a strange intensity. Mama said when the time came, I would know where to look. She knelt beside River. Do you feel anything now? River looked around the cavern, then toward a dark corner where the mine beams had collapsed. Something pulled them forward. Slowly, the child stepped toward it, lifting the wooden horse. This was hers, River whispered. She carved it for me. She said it would lead me. Stone grabbed Iron's arm. The rustlers are here. The woman felt her pulse spike. Footsteps and voices echoed from the narrow passage. Iron positioned himself between them and the entrance. Ready. The rustlers were closing in. The hidden truth was only steps away. and everything was building toward a moment none of them could escape. River stood in front of the collapsed mine beams. The carved wooden horse held tight in their small hands. The faint moonlight slipping through cracks in the cavern's ceiling made the dust sparkle around the child, as if the past itself was waking up to guide them. Iron stayed between the entrance and the cavern, shielding them with his strong, steady presence. Stone pressed his back against the wall, ready to act if danger burst through. And she stood beside River, heart pounding, praying this moment would give the child the strength they needed. "Mama said this toy belonged to the truth," River whispered. Iron's voice softened. "Then trust it, little one. Trust her." The child knelt and ran their fingers along the lowest beam, feeling each groove the way someone feels a memory instead of wood. Suddenly, River's hands stopped above a smooth spot that didn't match the rough surface around it. They pushed lightly. A small wooden compartment slid open beneath the beam. Iron inhaled sharply, emotions flickering across his face. River reached inside and pulled out a metal container no bigger than a notebook. Dust coated it like an old secret that waited too long to be found. She knelt with River. "What do you think it is?" River didn't answer. Instead, they held it out to Iron. The rancher took it slowly, hands trembling. For years, he had carried the unanswered question of what his sister died protecting. This was the first time he held something that could change everything. But footsteps echoed down the narrow passage before he could open. The rustlers had found the entrance. Iron motioned them all back behind the fallen beams, pushing River gently behind him. "Stay low," he whispered. "No matter what happens." The rustlers' lantern light flickered against the cavern wall as they entered. Their leader stepped forward with a calmness that chilled the air. His voice carried a smug confidence. "Walker, I knew the canyon would bring us back together." Iron stepped into the open. "This ends now. You won't touch River," the leader smirked. "That child is the key. Their mama hid what belonged to us. It never belonged to you," Iron snapped. The man tilted his head. "Maybe, but I'm the one who paid your sister for it, and she took my coin, then burned the trail. Without that map, we lose the biggest treasure in the territory." Treasure. The word hit her like a blow. The metal container now felt heavier, more dangerous, more powerful. Stone stepped out beside Iron. "You're outnumbered," he warned. "Maybe," the rustler leader said. "But we're not scared of shadows. Hand over the child, and we'll leave you breathing." Iron tightened his grip on the container. "You won't get anything from this family." River pressed their face into her side, trembling. She wrapped her arms around the child, whispering soft words to keep their fear from swallowing them. Stone moved closer to the rustlers. "You think Walker's alone in this canyon? Riders from the trading post are on their way. They know you raided a ranch." The leader's eyes flickered with the first sign of hesitation. Iron reached behind him and took River's hand. "You're not taking this child, or this map, or anything that belongs to my family," the leader snarled. "Then you die with it." As he lunged forward, Stone tackled the nearest rustler. The cavern erupted into chaos. Iron shielded River and swung his rifle like a club, knocking one man off his feet. She grabbed a fallen beam and pushed it between River and danger. The rustler leader shoved Iron against the wall, snarling into his face. "Your sister should have handed it over." Iron shoved back with all the force of a man who had nothing left to lose. "And you should have left her alone." They grappled near the cavern's edge, fists hitting stone and dust rising like smoke. The leader grabbed Iron's throat, pushing him toward a broken support beam. But before Iron could be pinned, River stepped forward with the carved horse held high. The child struck the leader's arm. The moment of shock made him loosen his hold. Iron seized the chance, twisted free, and knocked the man to the ground. The rustler leader scrambled backward, breath uneven, eyes wild. Stone subdued the last rustler with a heavy shove. Leaving only the leader conscious, Iron grabbed him by the collar. "It ends tonight." The leader spit dust in hatred. "You'll regret crossing us." "No," Iron said. "I regret nothing that protects my family." Stone tied the man's hands with rope. The rustlers, beaten and breathless, could only glare with defeat as the cavern quieted again. Outside, faint hoofbeats signaled Stone's riders approaching. Reinforcements reached the mine, and the remaining rustlers were dragged out for justice. The threat that stalked River's life finally broke apart under the weight of truth and courage. Inside the cavern, Iron turned to River with a softness that trembled at the edges. "You saved me, just like your mama saved others." River leaned against him with a tired but relieved sigh. She felt her own eyes sting watching it. Stone wiped his forehead. "We need to know what's inside that container." Iron nodded, opening the rusted latch. The lid creaked, revealing folded parchment sealed in wax. He unfolded it slowly, revealing a map drawn by careful hands. Marked with symbols and valleys leading to a hidden area far beyond the canyon, Stone stared quietly. "This is the Lost Pass." The one explorer said held untouched land and water. No wonder they wanted it. Iron traced a symbol near the middle. This was her dream. Not to give treasure to thieves, but to protect a place meant for those who needed a new beginning, River whispered. "Mama told me stories about a green valley." Iron closed the container. "She didn't die hiding gold. She died protecting hope." The words sank deep into all of them. They hiked back to the ranch at dawn, the sky stretching in soft colors across the horizon. The tension of the night slowly faded, replaced by the warmth of a new beginning. River rode with her, resting against her chest with a peacefulness they hadn't felt in years. Iron rode beside them, watching the land with renewed eyes, as if the memories of his sister rode with him in the gentle morning light. When they reached the ranch house, Iron lifted River down from the saddle. The child wrapped both arms around his neck. Iron hugged back with a tenderness rarely seen from a man who built so many walls. Stone prepared to leave, but she stepped toward him. "Thank you. You saved us." Stone gave a modest nod. "I owed your family, and I keep my debts clean." Iron clapped a hand on Stone's shoulder. "You always have a place here." Stone smiled faintly and rode off, leaving the three of them standing in the quiet yard of the ranch. River tugged Iron's sleeve. "What will we do now?" Iron looked at her, then at River, then at the wide open sky stretching over their land. "We built something new," he said. "Together." As she felt her breath catch. Iron's words weren't rushed or unsure. They were steady, rooted, like the man himself. River reached for her hand. "Can we stay here?" "All of us." She looked at Iron. His answer was already in his eyes. "This ranch has room," he said softly. "And so do I." A warmth spread through her chest. She squeezed River's hand and stepped closer to Iron. The morning sun rose over the ranch, casting golden light over the fences, the barn, the dust, and the hope shaping itself into a new beginning. River laughed for the first time. A clear, bright sound that made the whole land feel lighter. Iron smiled, watching the child run through the yard with the carved horse held high. The woman touched the porch railing, letting the warmth of the wood settle beneath her palm. Here, in this old American land of storms and secrets, they had found something stronger than fear. They found family. They found a future. And as Iron walked toward her, the morning glow lighting his face, she felt it deep in her heart. Everything had changed for the better, and the ranch, once hollow with silence, was finally alive again.